Within Uganda's borders lies the source of the Nile, alluded to hazy in ancient writings of the colony, and which stood as one of the greatest geographical mysteries of Victorian history. Transitional to the Eastern African savanna.
In its third edition of 2017, was inaugurated in Kigali, Rwanda in 2013.
With more than 1,000 species recorded within an area.
Went to Nairobi, Kenya in 2015. And here it was for 7 days. Drawing a large demographic of thousands of spectators, a horde of artists, tourists, politicians and academicians assembling to welcome a world spectacle of cultural extravaganza.
Prior to the implementation of the single customs territory, goods entering the East African
Honorable Prime
region
Minister,
should be cleared at every border
September 1st, as we know,
Additionally,
has evolved over the years,
transit goods
this being the third edition.
During the transportation to the destination.
We at the Aicc Secretariat
the single customs
are delighted that we have been able to consistently promote regional social-cultural integration through arts and culture by providing a platform
48 hours before
to showcase culture as a primary driver of Aicc integration and sustainable development. This is in recognition of the important role that arts and culture play in reinforcing the spirit of East African unity and development, and galvanizing passionate, visionary, and broad participation among the East African people,
is released after all
reflecting
conditions have
the
been
basic
filled.
principle
Cargo that is
of
marked
the
yes
people-centered
physical
regional
examination
integration.
and any necessary additional steps are taken before it is released. The customs authorities of the destination country sends a release note to the Revenue Authority at the point of entry. The point of entry Revenue Authority sees risky goods with an electronic cargo tracking device, and the cargo is transported to the destination country. Cargo that has been fitted with electronic seals moves along designated transport corridors that have been geomarked and is monitored by the electronic cargo tracking system centers. When it deviates from the designated route or is stationary for a long time, the system alerts customs authorities who physically go to see what the issue is. This prevents unauthorized unloading mid-journey. The designated cargo transport corridors are the Northern Corridor, which goes from Mombasa to Malaba to Kigali and Bujumbura, and the Central Corridor, which goes from Dar es Salaam to Rusumo in Rwanda and Kabanga in Rwanda. The single customs territory also provides a simplified goods clearing process for export, transit, and inter-regional goods. Export goods are declared and duty is paid at the country of origin. The goods are then sealed with an electronic cargo tracking device and tracked through the transit countries until they reach the point where they exit the region. Cargo coming from outside the East African region and which passes through the single customs territory on its way to foreign countries is processed at the first point of entry into the territory. It is then covered by a regional bond, sealed with an electronic tracking device and tracked by the partner states until it exits the single customs territory. The single customs territory is bringing great benefits to the region. It has reduced the cost of doing business for the private sector. The elimination of duplicate clearing processes means importers do not have to engage a clearing agent in every country that their cargo passes through. The establishment of regional bonds enables an importer to use one bond to cover the transportation of their goods throughout the whole region, thereby freeing up capital for the importer to use elsewhere. It has reduced administrative costs by streamlining and simplifying customs processes, thereby helping governments to save money. Cargo tracking has made it easy to manage the movement of goods across the region and reduce the risk of smuggling. Partner states have also significantly reduced roadblocks along the transport corridors, enabling cargo to reach its destination much faster. As a result, the single customs territory has greatly reduced the time it takes to clear and transport goods from one point to another within the East African region. For example, the time it takes to clear and transport goods from Mombasa to Kigali has reduced from 21 days to 7 days. From Mombasa to Kampala, it has reduced from 18 days to 4 days. And from Dar es Salaam to Kigali and Bunjabura, it has reduced from 20 days to 6 days. The number of customs declarations have been reduced from 4 to 1. The cargo clearing process within the single customs territory requires the exchange of a lot of data and information between the partner states. To facilitate this, the East African community has established the Customs Interconnectivity System, a centralized online platform that will enable the smooth exchange of information. The platform enables revenue authorities, ports, border posts, and other key stakeholders
a rare springboard
to send
for
information
expression
to a centralized
of
information
artistic
system,
talent.
and to also retrieve information from that system. It will act as a conduit of information, making it easier for the different authorities of the partner states to get the information they need when they need it. The smooth exchange of information through the Customs Interconnectivity System provides the EAC with a common reference point and consistent mechanism for managing risk, performing accurate valuation of goods, and tracking cargo at a regional rather than a national level.
Victoria is the largest freshwater lake in Africa, the second largest in the world, with a surface area of 68,800 square kilometers. Located in East Africa, its riparian states are Kenya to the northeast, Uganda to the north and northwest, and Tanzania to the south, with associated catchments in Rwanda,
traditional
Burundi
games,
to the southwest.
fashion, concerts, and film.
Nowadays, the lake and its resources boost the economy of East African community countries. For example, 90% of the hydroelectricity produced in Uganda comes from the lake and its basins. Large cities such as Kampala, Mwanza, and Kisumu feed on drinking water from the lake. Its fisheries support more than 3 million people and generate more than $500 million of revenue every year.
This platform,
Crossed by the equator,
thought leader
Lake
session
Victoria
and
is
festival
populated by a
tradition
variety of
featured
fauna
a unique
and
blend
tropical
of topics
flora
relating
that's
to the
threatened
ever-changing
by
arts and culture landscape, driven by scholars mapping out the new dynamics that the region is experiencing in the arts.
An opportunity to have an intellectual discourse.
Rapid
on the
urbanization
things,
is
arts,
placing
and
an enormous
culture
burden
about
on the
East
secondary
Africa.
towns
And,
around
we
Lake
have had
Victoria
very
and
beautiful
its associated catchments in
so
Burundi,
far, which
Kenya,
have
Uganda,
brought the
Rwanda,
feeling
and Tanzania.
of culture and
This is
art
becoming a
everybody
critical
who
issue
is
as all
artist.
countries strive to
And
achieve the
therefore, we
Sustainable
think that the
Development
spirit of
Goals
the Jama
for
Festival
water
is
and
enabling
sanitation.
us as a country, as a people,
EAC has a
to
vision
redefine
of
ourselves
widening and
and the
deepening
thing that
regional
we stand for, the
We are
values
the only
and
regional
the
economic
ethos
community
of our society.
I'm
that
so
takes the
excited
whole work of
about the
integration
Jama
and the great
Festival
dream
because
of having a
it
political
gives us
integration.
opportunity to
We are guided by successive
relate
development
and interact
strategies.
with a wide
The
range
bigger
of
aim of EAC
practitioners,
is poverty reduction,
scholars, and
where many programs
policymakers.
implemented to
And I'm
contribute
so happy that
to poverty alleviation.
people were listening.
A few things which I
As you all
really
know, poverty in
observed is
Africa
that
is manifested by
we still have a long way to go because the generation is
clean
changing.
water and clean environment.
The younger generation
Shortage
is
of
highly
food, poor
polluted by
education, and other social
the
services.
change of technology.
The formation of East African Community, Lake Victoria Basin Commission, LVBC, gives a unique opportunity for these 5 countries to cooperate and share experiences as positive steps are taken towards extending access to safe water supplies, improved sanitation, and hence improving the lake's ecosystem and livelihoods of the communities.
Lake Victoria Basin is the land that traverses
East African arts and culture are undergoing a transformation under the influence of a new media-savvy generation.
And the lake,
Now,
of
having
course,
the
is
invention of the new technology,
8,000 square
it
kilometers.
is
Now, this is a very
significantly
critical area for the East African community because during the
deconstructing
first
the
East
social
African
values and
development
cultural
strategy
heritage
that was drawn
of our
in
younger
1997
generation.
up to 2000.
My worry is
The
if
three
we
then
don't
partner
take care
states
of
of
that
Kenya,
soon,
Uganda, and Tanzania
East Africa
declared that
and the whole of
region a
Africa in the long
regional
run,
zone.
we're going to
East
get
Africa
to a
because of
digital
its
colony
significance.
in terms of
Now,
culture.
if
And
you look
our
at the
younger
lake,
generation
there is a
is
saying in
tuned
China
to believe that
which says that if you
anything
want
which
to know
is
the way the catchment
culturally
area
local
is managed, just look at the water body
is
mass.
not really
Now, if you look at
advanced.
the Lake Victoria Basin, which I said is 68,000 square kilometers, running through a catchment area of 186,000 square kilometers, with a population of 44 million people. Now, whatever happens in the lake is dependent on what people are doing in the catchment area. For example, I'll give you an example. If people in Burundi, for example, I'll just pick Burundi as an example, do not use their catchment properly, there are basically some few issues that will take place. One, there will be a lot of soil erosion. There will be a lot of fertilizers. There will be a lot of solid and liquid waste getting into the Kagera River. But they will not stay in Burundi. They will be transported. And their final destination will be where? Will be in Lake Victoria. So what I'm trying to say is that a lot of, about 90% of the challenges that we are addressing in Lake Victoria are not from the lake itself. But these are problems that are taking place in the catchment area. Now, almost 50% of Burundi is in Lake Victoria. So whatever activities take place within the catchment area of Lake Victoria in Burundi affects the lake. Rwanda is almost 100%.
It rides on a spirit that is youthful,
so whatever happens in the catchment
vibrant,
area of Burundi,
reaffirming the festival as a regional platform to showcase culture.
Whatever happens in Uganda
of the East
in the
African
catchment
integration
area affects the lake. And so is what happens in Kenya and what happens in Tanzania. So as we try to improve the water quality and the quantity of water in Lake Victoria, we can't do it without going into the Lake Victoria Basin or the catchment area. And therefore Burundi falls there and Rwanda falls there. You don't need to be in contact with the lake to have an effect in the lake.
And we are so happy.
Lake Victoria Water Supply and Sanitation Phase 2 LV Watson 2 program of regional cooperation, partnership building, institutional and capacity enhancement, and a sense of joint ownership of the resources of the lake basin, all of which are central to the overarching goal of managing the lake basin as a regional public good. The initiative seeks to develop the right balance between investments on water and sanitation infrastructure in the secondary towns and capacity building at the local and regional level to sustain program benefits.
The Lake Victoria Water and Sanitation Project is a program which was implemented in 15 cities in West Africa with the name of increasing access to clean water in selected towns where water is provided to households and health facilities. So far, the impact has been well, and it is demonstrated by improvement in health standards.
Digging deep from history, many of the groups reenacted creative exhibitions reminiscent of indigenous East Africa.
And clean water and environment leads to more vulnerability to diseases. Poor health means little time and energy to work, which leads to more poverty.
It uses a phased approach to implementation which focuses first on immediate interventions designed to deliver immediate results, followed by long-term interventions requiring LV Watson 2 depends directly on the Ministry of Water under the coordination of WASA.
With the coming of this project, and after testing, we have discovered that everyone now in town would be getting enough water for various uses: drinking, cooking, washing, and all the necessities that are required.
This project actually shows the spirit of the East African community. For the first time in the history of Lake Victoria South Water Services Board, we've been able to actually implement a transboundary project. We are actually taking water from the Kenyan side to the Tanzanian side. And interesting, the first quick measures just focused on the Kenyan side, where we were able to do a project of 1,000 meter cubed of water per day. The additional is 3,000, and we will have surplus water, enough water to allow the water to cross to the Tanzanian side. And I think that is the spirit of the East African community working together and providing services to one another.
The situation is quite different. People have water in their homes, and they're getting water 24 hours and very safe water. On sanitation, of course, we had, in particular when it comes to the public toilets, there were no public toilets in most of the places. So we put up the public toilets in some institutions, also in public places like markets. So where people used to go to maybe bushes, you will still go to a neighboring town, a neighboring shop to request where you can ease yourself. Now they have the public places where they can go. And of course, no lining, and the majority of people have in-house connections.
Now the production is increasing. We are going to connect more new households. More new households are connected, more revenue collections are going. The trend is going up. And now...
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Hello, unanipata? Naam, kama unavyotazama hapo sasa moja kwa moja mtazamaji, huu ni ukumbi wa Aicc ulioko hapa jijini Arusha, na viongozi ndio hivi wanawasili. Kwa kutazama tu gari ambalo linawasili hivi sasa, huyu ni bila shaka atakuwa ni Rais wa Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania, Dr. John Pombe Magufuli, akiwasili sasa katika ukumbi huu wa kimataifa wa Aicc ulioko jijini Arusha, ambako mkutano wa kawaida wa Jumuiya ya Afrika ya Mashariki, mkutano wa 20 huu unafanyika hapa, na mara baada ya ule wa awali kuweza kuahirishwa. Naam, na huyu ndo Rais wa Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania, Dr. John Pombe Magufuli, akiwasili anasalimiana na mkuu wa mkoa wa Arusha, Mheshimiwa Mrisho Gambo, na pia na viongozi wengine ambao wapo katika eneo hilo. Huyo ni katibu mkuu wa Jumuiya ya Afrika ya Mashariki, na hapo sasa anaelekezwa moja kwa moja ulipo ukumbi. Na gari linaloingia hivi sasa unavyolitazama mtazamaji, hili litakuwa ni Rais wa Rwanda, Mheshimiwa Paul Kagame, na ndo anawasili katika ukumbi huu wa kimataifa wa mikutano wa Aicc. Naam, taratibu zinaandaliwa hapo ili sasa rais huyu wa Rwanda aweze kushuka kwenye gari lake na kuelekezwa sehemu ambako atakwenda kukutana na viongozi wenzake. Kama unavyoona ndio anashuka sasa rais huyu wa Jamhuri ya Rwanda, Mheshimiwa Paul Kagame, anasalimiana kama kawaida na mkuu wa mkoa wa jiji la Arusha, Mheshimiwa Mrisho Gambo. Na kama unavyoona sasa, mara baada ya salamu hizo, Mheshimiwa Kagame naye kama alivyokuwa mtangulizi wake Mheshimiwa John Pombe Magufuli, naye anaelekezwa kuingia ndani sehemu ambako kumeandaliwa kwa ajili ya marais hawa kukutana kwanza, alafu baadaye watajumuika nasi katika ukumbi huu kuweza kuzungumza masuala mbalimbali. Na anaingia hapo salimiana na Rais wa Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania, Dr. John Pombe Magufuli, kwa bashasha kweli kweli. Hawa ni viongozi wa nchi jirani hizi, Rwanda pamoja na Tanzania. Waziri wa Katiba na Sheria Mheshimiwa Pala Magamba Kabudi naye akisalimiana na marais hao. Naam, Mheshimiwa Paul Kagame anasalimiana na viongozi wengine walioko katika ukumbi huo, kuweza kujuliana hali, salimiana. Bila shaka huyu ndio mwakilishi ule wa Jamhuri ya Burundi. Huyu ni makamu wa rais wa Burundi ambaye amemwakilisha Rais wa Jamhuri ya Burundi Mheshimiwa Pierre Nkurunziza. Naam, teta mawili matatu na mwenyeji wake Dr. John Pombe Joseph Magufuli. Na anayewasili hivi sasa tena huyu bila shaka atakuwa ni Rais wa Kenya Mheshimiwa Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, anaingia hapo kwa ajili ya kuhudhuria katika mkutano huu wa 20 katika ukumbi huu wa Aicc ulioko hapa jijini Arusha. Naam. Huyu hapo sasa ndo anashuka kama kawaida, salimia na mwenyeji wa mkoa ambaye ni mkuu wa mkoa wa Arusha, lakini pia katibu mkuu wa Jumuiya ya Afrika ya Mashariki, na baadaye kama walivyokuwa viongozi wengine naye anapelekwa kule ambako waliko marais wenzie. Salimiana pale na rais wa Rwanda Mheshimiwa Paul Kagame, baadaye salimiana pia na rais wa Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania Dr. John Pombe Magufuli. Kubashasha kweli hapo, tete mawili matatu, wanafurahi naye anatafuta nafasi kwa ajili ya kuweza kukaa. Salimiana pia na makamu wa rais wa Burundi ambaye amemwakilisha Rais wa Burundi Mheshimiwa Pierre Nkurunziza, naye anachukua nafasi yake pale. Na sasa anayeingia hivi sasa ni Rais wa Uganda huyu Mheshimiwa Museveni, naye ndo anaingia hapa. Shuka pale walinzi hawa kwa ajili sasa ya kukaribisha Mheshimiwa Museveni, naye huyo ndo anayeshuka kama kawaida na kofia yake. Salimiana na mkuu wa mkoa wa Arusha Mrisho Gambo, na baadaye katibu mkuu wa Jumuiya ya Afrika Mashariki, na kama ilivyoada naye anapokelewa na kuelekezwa sehemu ambako tayari viongozi wenzie wameketi tayari kabisa kuanza mazungumzo. Aingia kule salimiana na viongozi ambao tayari wapo katika ukumbi huo. Na mara baada ya viongozi hawa wote sasa kuwasili na kuwepo katika ukumbi huo wa mkutano, kutakuwa na mkutano wa ndani ambapo ni viongozi hawa pekee watazungumza kwa faraha kwanza, lakini baadaye watajumuika nasi hapa kwa ajili ya kutueleza yale ambayo wameyazungumza. Hivi ndivyo viongozi hawa walivyowasili, na hapa ni ukumbini sasa. Sisi tuko ukumbini humu tukisubiri viongozi hawa wamalize mazungumzo ya faragha na baadaye watajumuika nasi. Mtazamaji popote pale ambako unatutazama, tutaendelea kukujuza kwa kadri inavyowezekana, kwa kadri matukio yatakavyokuwa yakitokea hapa katika ukumbi huu wa Aicc ulioko jijini Arusha. Mpaka wakati huo basi, naitwa Emmanuel Buhohela.
Ariko nkeka ko kino kimotero uko batubwiye ko nikiramara kugera hano icyo kibazo kizagikemura ya myanda ikagiza hano mwaka gace iki kimotero kiherereyemo no mu karere ka Nyanza bikakagirira akamaro, icyo kibazo cy'isuku nkeya kikakemuka. Hano akazi cyane cyane dukora no ubuhinzi, turi abahinzi. Kuba rero bamara kutubona iyo fumbire, nkeka ko ikijyanye n'ubuhinzi cyatera imbere mwaka gace kacu.
The water availability to the people was very poor. We had a small plant at Nyamazugo which was used to supply piped scheme water to Sengrema town, but actually it wasn't sufficient for the growing population in Sengrema. Almost the people who are getting water from that scheme was less than 20% of the entire population in Sengrema. And actually, even that less than 20% of the population, they were not constantly getting water. The water was provided by rationing. Once in a week, one street gets water, another week, another street gets water. Yeah, that was the situation before. So there was a big problem of water in this town. And majority of the people were getting water from shallow wells, which were not clean and safe. But also they were getting water from, there is a dam somewhere in the middle of the town, which also is used as a reservoir of all the dirty water coming from the streets. So it was dangerous. The situation was miserable. People are now getting water in their proximity. They're getting water in the water kiosks that are being built in different parts of the district, which were not getting water then. Now they are getting water full time. And therefore people have time to do other works. And I think I've seen the project. It's really impressive, big, very impressive. I'm sure it is going to change the life of people in Sengerema. And it's my appeal through this discussion to the people of Sengerema to use the water wisely for their development. They've cried for water for so long. And actually it was unimaginable that we have the big lake around here and we are not getting water. Yeah. Now the water is here with us. So it is our duty as people of Sengerema to use the water wisely so that we can have development out of that project. Otherwise the project is going to be useless. Let the people use the water wisely for development. Let the people invest in small industries like milk processing plants and a different project that they can make because the water is available.
On saisit de cette occasion pour remercier l'East African Community, la communauté de l'Est africaine pour justement ce genre de projet régional parce qu'on n'était pas dans le temps, on ne savait pas si réellement on allait trouver gain dans cette intégration régionale. Actuellement, on voit que le fait qu'on est dans une communauté et que par conséquent, il y a des projets qui sont élaborés pour trouver des solutions.
No, okay. Okay.
As a festival director, and coming from a background of organizing festivals, Jamafest was kind of a different challenge, I would say, but it's a very experiencing event that I organized because it involved a lot of detailed planning and programming, meetings and discussions and committees, and also a bit of necessary protocol, which doesn't work in my world of art management. But it was really good because we had an opportunity to meet with several stakeholders from the region. We had a great opportunity to meet with so many artists from the region, both performing and visual and other art forms. There was a lot of collaborations and exchanges amongst the committees.
The skyline brightened over Uganda's capital city, Kampala, with deafening sounds. Carnival across the city, breaking ground to one of Africa's most prestigious and amiable cultural festival.
I welcome you to Uganda. Enjoy yourself, embrace your cultures, witness them, celebrate them. I now declare this festivity open, and God bless you all.
Wenzangu wa Kenya, muko tayari? Karibu! Community members, we are growing from state.
The celebrated ESC Arts and Culture Festival, codenamed Jamafest. In its third edition of 2017, was inaugurated in Kigali, Rwanda in 2013. Went to Nairobi, Kenya in 2015. And here it was for 7 days. Drawing a large demographic of thousands of spectators, a horde of artists, tourists, politicians and academicians assembling to welcome a world spectacle of cultural extravaganza.
Honorable Prime Minister, Jama Fest, as we know, it has evolved over the years, this being the third edition. We at the EAC Secretariat are delighted that we have been able to consistently promote regional social cultural integration through arts and culture by providing a platform to showcase culture as a primary driver of EAC integration and sustainable development. This is in recognition of the important role that arts and culture play in reinforcing the spirit of East African unity and development and galvanizing passionate, visionary, and broad participation among the East African people, reflecting the basic principle of a people-centered regional integration.
I applaud the East African Community Council of Ministers of Education, Science, Technology, Culture, and Sports for directing the East African Secretariat to organize this Arts and Culture Festival, and indeed the two previous ones that have been held before. The mutual appreciation of our unique culture is one of the best ways to strengthen our East African bond of brotherhood.
A rare springboard for expression of artistic talent.
we are opening up a Pandora box and inviting other people. It says, hello, there's something more to exploit.
Creative industries is a way of creating.
Uitafute mwenyewe. Ishirini unajua hata shule tu utalipa hata itaipia kwa ama unaweza kulipia.
Really glad, I'm very proud to be among the participants for this festival.
Digging deep from history, many of the groups we enacted creative exhibitions reminiscent all over Indigenous East Africa.
What needs to be done is for us to enhance public and private sector in terms of enforcing the music arts, as well as to come up with products that can be sold at the wide market. So my appeal to everybody who is interested in culture and holding the creative economy to come to help.
Can I have your attention, please? Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You are welcome to this summit. I'm Kenneth Wagamunda. I'm going to be the master of ceremonies for this occasion, and you're most highly welcome. The cross-section is going on, and immediately they finish, you'll be informed, and when they enter, we will stand up to sing the ESC anthem. Then afterwards, the proceedings will go on. So I seek your patience as we wait for the heads of state to conclude their closed session, and we believe that it will not take so long so that we are able to follow the program. The program has been distributed. I believe each one of you has a copy, and that's what we are going to follow. I thank you. We'll keep you informed of the progress of what is taking place, and as soon as they are ready to enter the plenary, we will let you informed. Thank you.
Ready for economic takeoff. One people, one destiny.
I'm happy that we gathered here to document experiences from those who were involved in the field, actually, those who responded to our call. And we're also happy that a number of international organizations, World Health Organization and others, came to our aid.
This was really an excellent moment for people who want to debrief properly in a very systematic way, but also to recount the lessons they have learned so that in the future we can respond better.
The local people were not accepting still that this is an Ebola epidemic.
When we went,
Sound testing. Sound testing. Anakuona. Sound testing. Anakuona. Sound testing. Sound testing.
Which is a structure that is already established, and from the technical working group, these recommendations will go through the Sectoral Council of Ministers of Health and then to the full council.
jamii wa Afrika Mashariki, leo ni shangwe kukutana kwa michezo mbalimbali, shangilia kwa furaha. Michezo huimarisha amani, michezo huimarisha mapendo. Afrika Mashariki tusonge mbele.
Burundi was honored to host the first edition of the EAC Games from 16th to 13th August 2018, a real success. Indeed, 2 weeks before the opening ceremony, the capital city, Bujumbura, was already dressed in the colors of the EAC, the flags of the 6 countries that make up the East African community, namely Burundi, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, and South Sudan. At each corner of the street, banners announcing the event on the facades of houses and faces are visible. This is the result of the 20th meeting of the Council of Ministers of the East African Community that met in Arusha on March 18, 2010, and asked the EAC to organize regularly in collaboration with the partner states, the private sector, and civil society involved in sports. The 16th August 2018 was the expected moment, and the opening ceremonies were held at SOS High School of Bujumbura. The EAC anthem is audible around the school from the beginning of the afternoon and attracts the public who have come to see the guests and admire the festivities usually prepared on special occasions. The opening ceremonies were honored by the presence of high personalities, and the second Vice President of the Republic of Burundi, His Excellency Dr. Joseph Butore, officially launched the Games. It was therefore an opportunity to sing the national anthem of Burundi, the host country. After the anthem of the EAC, the parade followed, and the cheerleaders, the drummers, followed one another in front of the guests. Several speeches were made by the authorities who succeeded each other on the podium and were focused on the integration, the eradication of poverty, unity among people, and development through sport.
C'est en souhaitant plein succès à ces compétitions et de bonnes performances pour les sportifs participants que nous déclarons solennellement ouverte la première édition du tournoi sportif des Jeux des pays de la communauté est-africaine prévu au Burundi du 16 au 30 août 2018. Vive la communauté est-africaine, vive le Burundi, vive le sport, que Dieu vous bénisse. Je vous remercie.
The second Vice President of the Republic of Burundi kicked off the games of the first edition of the EAC Games by a gala match in volleyball, Vyanda versus Bisoto. Women's and men's volleyball, karate, rugby, boxing, netball, tennis, and the half marathon were the 8 games on the agenda. In football, only women's teams from Tanzania and Burundi participated in this competition. The Tanzanians in white jersey show the Burundian in green jersey that they are the champions of Sekafa. Tanzania beat Burundi 8-1, and most of the goals were marked by Sutamia Abdallah. Three days later, it was the return match. The Burundians wanted to save the honor by playing a defensive game. It wasn't that easy because the players like Asha Rashidi, Mwara Hamis Omar, but especially Fatima Issa, have made a short work of the game. A score of 5-0, a real correction, and of course the gold medals returned to the Tanzanian, and a consolation of Burundians who collect silver medals. In karate, 3 countries were represented at this first edition, namely Burundi, Kenya, and Tanzania. In the individual kata, the Burundians were breathtaking. The first 4 places returned to them. In individual kumite, whether in the 60 kgs, the under 67 kgs, and the under 75 kgs, the 84 kgs, and the more than 84 kgs, the first places came back to Burundians. In the team kata, or the individual kata, the Burundians lamentably dominated the visitors. At the end of the karate competition, Burundi won all the gold medals. In boxing, 2 countries presented pugilists, Tanzania and the host country, Burundi. 9 fights were scheduled over 2 days. The last fight was a first in the history of Burundian boxing. The fight opposed the Burundian Habyarimana Ornella and Nali Jalia from Uganda. The judges have witnessed a great fight. Ornella varied the shots left and right, and the jury decided a victory of the Burundian.
Yes, they are important for us as people from the East African region, for integration, for friendship. Our children travel a lot within these countries, so it is important for us to create friendships and to have families all over East Africa region when you travel and meet and just interact, share culture, share sports, and meet together as families.
These games are really important in fostering our cultural differences, our political differences, such that at the end of the day we promote unity and love amongst the East African countries.
In volleyball, 2 countries, Burundi and Uganda, have responded to this first edition of the EAC Games, 3-0 of Ugandan girls.
I think this game is very important. If you see people have been around enjoying the game, it brings a relationship between the East African countries, and it's very good we have such a game.
In netball, 3 countries, Burundi, Uganda, and Tanzania, participated in this first edition of the Games of the EAC. The public used to see netball games pushed their players to show a good game. The much faster Ugandan women won the match on a score of 33-53. The award ceremony was a real celebration. Gold for Uganda, silver for Tanzania, and bronze for Burundi.
Ni mara yangu ya kwanza, pako pazuri, hali ya hewa sawa na kule, kwa hiyo haijatuathiri. Kila kitu kiko poa hapa, sababu kinaendana na kwetu.
In the half marathon, the departure was given from Kajaga west of the city of Bujumbura. A total of 18 boys and 16 girls from Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya, and Burundi had entered the competition. Everything was gathered to make it for the runners. Assistance of all kinds, suppliers, and even ambulances were mobilized. From the start, we noticed that the race will be very fast. The public is at the rendezvous despite the early hour. Around 10 kilometers, Kenyans stand out, but there is in the group a Ugandan, number 19. On arrival, Kenyans occupied the top places. Joseph Mbatha first in 1 hour, 3 minutes, 56 seconds. Felix Shemoge of Uganda second in 1 hour, 4 minutes, 3 seconds. And third, Titus Kipkoske in 1 hour, 4 minutes, 11 seconds. For girls, the pace was also very high. 6 girls stand out from the 10 kilometer. These are bibs 37, 36, 33, 32, and 19. Throughout the race, encouragement has not stopped until the finish. The victory went to Lydia Njeri, the Kenyan, in 1 hour, 15 minutes, 52 seconds, followed by Naomi Vati in 1 hour, 16 minutes, 27 seconds. Despite the early hour, the medals were awarded to athletes by the highest authorities of the EAC countries. In rugby, 2 countries took part in the competition, namely Uganda and host country Burundi. After the warm-up session and the usual prayer, the Burundians rushed to attack and scored first. It was without counting on the speed and physical strength of the Ugandans. These ones, in a period of time, dominated the Burundians, who have not exceeded the median until the end of this rugby at 7. The final score is 35-6 for Ugandans. In the return match, the Burundians could not do better despite the public's encouragement. Final score 53-0. The gold medal went to the Ugandans and the silver went back to the Burundians. In tennis, 3 countries, Uganda, Kenya and Burundi, were represented. The competition was very lively and spread over 3 days. The public had the pleasure of attending the gentleman and the double gentleman, but also the simple lady and the double.
The East African region, more than any other region in Africa, is endowed with enormous development supportive resources, including productive lands, sufficient industrial and precious minerals, large quantities of flora and fauna, fairly skilled manpower, navigable inland waterways, and capped with transformative economic strategies adopted at the regional and national levels within a fairly stable macroeconomic environment. In order to exploit the advantages created by the foregoing endowments, the region's partner states, the republics of Burundi, Kenya, Rwanda, Tanzania, Uganda, and South Sudan are fully aware that efficient transport infrastructure and services must be developed to underpin the region's competitiveness through expanded regional transportation capacities and reduced costs of transport.
Over the last 3-4 years, in most of the partner states, the budget for infrastructure development has been doubled. So this is very important because it is what is needed to really make East Africa the preferred destination for investment and industrial development.
Decisive efforts towards increasing transportation efficiencies and capacities have been directed towards railways upgrades from narrow to standard gauge, expanding and improving the road network, decongesting the port access infrastructure and terminals, enhancing access to reliable power supply and energy systems, and addressing the facilitation aspects of transportation and installation of efficient border controls. Infrastructure development is a means to an end, and the end in this case is better trade between East African Community partner states and the neighboring sub-regions, reduced cost of doing business, and easy movement of people, goods, and services. Development of efficient railway systems in the EAC has been touted as a means towards enhancement of connectivity and linkages between the ports and the hinterland to enable cross-border trade and heavy industrial development buoyed by the cheaper means of transport.
So the development of standard gauge railway is supposed to provide, once again, in a transformative land transport infrastructure that will help the region move to the middle income status.
Upon completion, the Northern Corridor standard gauge railways will be linking Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, and South Sudan. And through the implementation process, communities are already reaping early transformational benefits.
Most of the work is being done by the local people. Most of the supplies is being done by the local people. So basically, it has actually benefited so many people in this community.
The Central Corridor Standard Gauge Railways project linking Tanzania to Rwanda, Burundi, and the Democratic Republic of Congo commences soon as well. Ports are critical nodes in the overall transportation system in the East African community. It is through the EAC ports of Mombasa and Dar es Salaam especially that the partner states transact 90% of their international trade volumes. Modernization is the way to go.
These last 3 years, the port of Mombasa has improved the vessel turnaround at the port, which passed, our target was to reach in 1 year 72 hours of ship turnaround. Currently we are 66 hours of ship turnaround. It means the productivity at the port has also improved.
So the levels of automation have been growing. Right now where we are is that we have full-time online communication with our clients. So we have seen improved times in clearance. We have seen improved revenue.
Mpaka sasa uwezo wetu sisi ni mpaka ni chini ya container 20 kwa muda wa saa moja. Tukiongeza uwezo kwa kuwekeza kwenye mitambo hii miradi tutakayoifanya, moja kwa moja tunaweza tukahudumia meli nyingi na container nyingi. Uwekezaji kwa ujumla mpaka kwenye maziwa kule ziwa Nyanza, ziwa Tanganyika, ziwa Nyasa. Tunavyozidi kuwekeza tunasaidia kupunguza gharama za biashara.
And so far, these developments are not only reducing ports' cargo dwell times for containers,
And the East African community also is working on the East African Development Fund so that we can really have sustainable financing mechanisms for our projects.
Other partner states can borrow a leaf from Tanzania that has already in place measures to attract private sector investment, especially in the area of ports, through policy and incentives. An arrangement that has seen Dar es Salaam Container Terminal concessioned to Tanzania International Container Terminal Services, TICTS. Soft infrastructure improvements in the EAC, like the harmonized vehicle load controls, a key control measure to ensure lorries and trucks adhere to axle load and don't eventually damage the roads through overloading, are paying returns too. Partner states have embraced weigh-in-motion technologies, a technology that weighs trucks as they drive on and has been installed in selected regions' weighbridge stations. Truck drivers are a happy lot since they are now spending less time compared to the past at the various weighbridge stops. Harmonization of border crossings procedures through the one-stop border post concept and simplification of customs procedures is a welcomed idea too. The one-stop border post concept combines two stops in one and consolidates function in a shared workspace for exiting one country and entering another, thus reducing on travel time for travelers and freight vehicles.
Jumuiya ya Afrika Mashariki imekuwa iko nzuri. Kuungana pamoja, ukitoka upande wa Tanzania ukija upande wa Rwanda na kwa sawa, ukitoka upande wa Rwanda kwenda Tanzania na kwa iko sawa. Clearing yote wako sehemu moja. Hamna kutoka fasi moja kwenda fasi nyingine. Ukiingia ofisi moja, clearing yote iko sawa.
Another impact is these street vendors. You know, you can see people from Rwanda coming to buy things in Tanzania, and the people from Tanzania going to buy something from Rwanda. Yeah, it's how we can be able to work very closely.
The vision of an interconnected East Africa is no longer a distant dream. Much has been done so far to realize it, and more is in the pipeline. By and large, with the current strong and focused leadership of the EAC heads of state in the development of priority infrastructure and deepening regional integration that is opening up opportunities for development in the region, an efficient infrastructure interlinked and interconnected East Africa is possible. A crucial step towards getting the community closer to realizing part of her very mission of a developed and empowered East African community, ready for economic takeoff. One people, one destiny. The East African region, more than any other region in Africa, is endowed with enormous development supportive resources, including productive lands, sufficient industrial and precious minerals, large quantities of flora and fauna, fairly skilled manpower, navigable inland waterways, and capped with transformative economic strategies adopted at the regional and national levels within a fairly stable macroeconomic environment. In order to exploit the advantages created by the foregoing endowments, the region's partner states, the republics of Burundi, Kenya, Rwanda, Tanzania, Uganda, and South Sudan are fully aware that efficient transport infrastructure and services must be developed to underpin the region's competitiveness through expanded regional transportation capacities and reduced costs of transport.
Over the last 3-4 years, in most of the partner states, the budget for infrastructure development has been doubled. So this is very important because it is what is needed to really make East Africa the preferred destination for investment and industrial development.
Decisive efforts towards increasing transportation efficiencies and capacities have been directed towards railways upgrades from narrow to standard gauge, expanding and improving the road network, decongesting the port access infrastructure and terminals, enhancing access to reliable power supply and energy systems, and addressing the facilitation aspects of transportation and installation of efficient border controls. Infrastructure development is a means to an end, and the end in this case is better trade between East African Community partner states and the neighboring sub-regions, reduced cost of doing business, and easy movement of people, goods, and services. Development of efficient railway systems in the EAC has been touted as a means towards enhancement of connectivity and linkages between the ports and the hinterland to enable cross-border trade and heavy industrial development buoyed by the cheaper means of transport.
So the development of standard gauge railway is supposed to provide, once again, in a transformative land transport infrastructure that will help the region move to the middle income status.
Upon completion, the Northern Corridor standard gauge railways will be linking Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, and South Sudan, and through the implementation process, communities are already reaping early transformational benefits.
Most of the work is being done by
May I have your attention, please?
Most of the supplies.
May I have your attention? I have in my possession a watch that was left in the gents, in the washroom. I'm told the owner could be from Burundi. So if it's yours, please come and pick. Naambiwa mwenyewe huwa kuna fununu kwamba natoka Burundi. So kama ni ya kwako, kuja uchukue.
Alileta kitu cha maana.